Brooklyn News Live. We're live from the White House as we will bring you up to date on the latest developments from the war in Iran. Stick with us for that. Plus, the new developing details out of the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. will bring you up to date on the controversy that is really just beginning, it feels like. That plus Fox now says they will buy Roku in a large streaming overhaul that is coming up for you on this edition of Brooklyn News Live. Stick with us.
All the news you need and more. Brooklyn News Live starts right now.
And it is so good to be with you. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is a start to the Monday. Lots of headlines to get to as we were just talking about. All of those stories that we will talk about coming up here in just a few moments here. Sorry, I was having trouble hearing myself in my earpiece. I believe we've got that fixed. Again, it is Monday, June 22nd. Time is now 2:22, and I just realized a little bit of an error here. It is 2026, not 202. Good to be with you, though. We got a lot to get to. We're going to start with, of course, the major details that are continuing to come out of the war in Iran. It seems like every second that story is changing. President Trump putting new threats out there. We've been following it since the beginning, so we'll get you back up to date here. We'll start with a live look right now at the White House as we do, and we brought this to you back last Monday, that Iran and Israel have agreed to a memorandum of understanding that was signed late last week. It began to formally set a 60-day clock for negotiations on the biggest unresolved issue in all of this, which is Iran's nuclear program. The deal included a cessation of hostilities and into Iranian restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz, a deduction of military assets from the region, sanctions relief for Iran, and a commitment from the U.S. and regional partners to develop a reconstruction plan for Iran worth at least $300 billion. That's just a few of those things that were included inside that deal. Now, a reading by the United States of the memorandum was announced. There you go. You can see what was exactly inside this memorandum of understanding that was, again, 14 points and included things from, issues like the Strait of Hormuz, which has reflected gas prices here in the United States. One of the big things here, when we talk about military, was the immediate halt to all of the operations, including from Israel and Lebanon, to stop all of that. No more threat or force between the two nations in a 60-day ceasefire. So that is what is in place right now, and that is what we have been watching here. The Strait of Hormuz said to be reopened. There was some reports and talks from Iran that they closed it after threats from President Trump on Truth Social during this period here, during negotiations which are happening right now in Switzerland. It also lifted Iran handles dimming for a 30-day timeline there. Money and sanctions. The U.S. would allow Iranian oil exports immediately. $100 billion in frozen assets. There would be released. A $300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran from the U.S. would be sent over. All sanctions lifted if final deal is signed. Now, in this nuclear commitment here, the nuclear program, this was, the stickler that caused this war from Iran. They say they're going to have no nuclear weapons. Highly enriched uranium to be blended. Details pushed to final negotiation here. So that's going to be the interesting part because, again, as I just said a few seconds ago, this is the reason that this war had began, is because the U.S. believed that Iran was posing an imminent threat with nuclear weapons towards the United States. No enforcement mechanism set yet. So that is a question here as well, is if the U.S. was to take this and say, excuse me, if the US was to take this and say, okay, you can have a nuclear weapon, how exactly would they do that? That has been a piece of this puzzle that has gone on for so long now. Now, today, Vice President JD Vance is in Switzerland on all of this, and there have been updates there coming out today where Vice President JD Vance says there has been agreements made and progress has been made in all of this. We want to take you to that right now. Again, Vice President JD Vance and U.S. negotiators, including the son-in-law of President Trump, Jared Kushner, are in Switzerland right now at a resort. This is a rare face-to-face meeting happening here as both sides began the 60-day sprint to hammer out the details of what a final deal might begin to look like here, but the talks were immediately complicated by Trump himself. We noted this a few moments ago. He shook up negotiations with a series of threats that rattled Iranian officials that would then lead to talks kind of wrapping up for literally just a few moments, and the Strait of Hormuz then said to be closed by Iran. Now they're back to normal. Technical talks now set to continue, you could say, but that damage from Trump's statement was evident with Vance this morning saying the talks had set a good foundation while simultaneously acknowledging the tension. Here's about 2 minutes of Vance's speech from this morning. Take a listen.
Yesterday is when you guys engage in what us millennials might call trash talk, you can't expect the President of the United States not to respond and not to correct the record. So when they say things that aren't true, the President is going to respond to it. I'm going to respond to it. Americans are going to respond to it. When they make threats that aren't rooted in reality, they have to accept that the President of the United States is actually going to set the record straight. That's all that happened. So yes, there was a little bit of threatening, there was a little bit of whining, but at the end of the day, the talks continued and we made great progress.
When do you expect them to be welcomed into Iran? Is there a time frame that you guys are looking at? And also in terms of when we could see this entire conflict end, do you think this can end by the midterm elections?
Well, look, right now the conflict is in a ceasefire, and certainly our hope is that we get to the final deal and a permanent settlement. But right now, I think we've made great progress, and we should all celebrate that. In terms of when the nuclear inspectors are going to start, it's funny, we were trying to call some of the inspectors last night around 2 in the morning. As you can expect, not many people were answering their phone at 2 in the morning. I expect that will happen at the minimum this week, but we think even some of those conversations with the inspectors and with the IAEA could happen as soon as today, but I haven't checked in with our team since we made that 2 a.m. phone call to some of those inspectors. Sorry.
Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Did you, going in, expect the Iranians to make Lebanon as much of a linchpin as they ended up doing? And how would you describe the progress on Lebanon? I know Mr. Araghchi said it was very good progress, but what's your characterization of it?
Yeah, I would describe it as very good progress, too. I mean, look, we want a regional ceasefire, right? We want Hezbollah to stop firing at our friends in Israel. We want Israelis to be able to live in peace. We also want to make sure that, you know, when things happen, they don't spiral into a broader escalation. And so we've been, I think, very good at setting up what we're calling a deconfliction mechanism. But what it really is to say that when things happen, the sides are actually talking to one another. Sometimes, you know, you've got a bit of a chicken and egg problem, that you've got a junior guy who fires a drone that didn't have approval from the high command. Okay, of course, Israel has to respond to that. But then sometimes that response, we could actually have a better and more peaceful situation if Israel responds in the context of a conversation that's ongoing between Hezbollah, Lebanon, Israel, and other partners in the region.
Wow, his explanation of how things work there make things look a lot more clear. That maybe that if there was less hostility in the responses of all of this. I mean, you saw at the beginning, he also noted that if Iran is making false claims, he believes that the President Trump, the United States, has the right to retaliate, whether in other comments that are true, but he points that out. But he also says, you know, if Iran does this to Israel, then Israel has the right to do it back. If Lebanon does that to Israel, if Israel does that to Lebanon, you know, there has to be retaliation, but he's saying that the retaliation could be essentially less hostile and could be just in the context of the conversation, so it would not necessarily interrupt the ceasefire conversations. Very, very interesting. What is also notable is that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has not been involved in this peace talks, although he is, again, the Secretary of State in these peace talks in Switzerland. So that is notable there. News from the White House, as again, we have been following these continuously developing details. And as we talk about Israel and Lebanon, that has been the most immediate danger to this entire deal. Now, Israel and Hezbollah, they agreed to a ceasefire Friday at 9 a.m. But then, just hours later, Israel launched fresh strikes that killed more than a dozen people in Lebanon, blowing up the truce almost instantly. And this is something we have seen for so many decades between Israel and Lebanon. Now, an emergency session on the Lebanon fighting was rushed onto the agenda of the Swiss talks. Iran's foreign minister has been crystal clear. The war will only end, quote, when it also ends in Lebanon, end quote. And any ceasefire must include a full Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. Israel and Lebanon have agreed to reconvene political and security talks this week, the week of this week here, with a view toward reaching a comprehensive agreement. Now, on the U.S. side here, Senator Lindsey Graham putting it quite bluntly, quote, if the deal fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz over by force. The United States will control the Strait of Hormuz, will charge a fee for all those who go through, and we're going to expand the Abraham Accords in 2026. If Iran contests the control of the Strait of Hormuz, we will obliterate them, unquote. Now, on the Iran side, Tehran has said the Strait of Hormuz will be closed again after accusing the U.S. of violations. We are learning it is reopened, but there is limited ships transiting, or it appears that there's kind of not as many ships transiting as there once was throughout all of this. And Iran says ships transiting the state will now need insurance approved by Tehran through a new, quote, Persian Gulf Strait Authority. So again, the deal still on the table here. A 60-day ceasefire remains in place. Fire has stopped. But again, as Tehran puts it, in order for there to be an end of it, there has to be an end to the ongoing litigation in Lebanon, in Israel. So much going on, and so much that we are following here at Brookland News. So I feel like every day we come to you, we are updating you with so much different news. And it's like, 1 second we're learning this detail, the next second that detail now changes to say this. So we're going to try to keep you updated throughout the hour if there's any updates as we go throughout the hour. Alrighty, now to this. In Brookland, a flash flood warning that was put in place this morning has now expired. We'll take you to the RDOT camera right now in Brookland. As you see there, the National Weather Service in Memphis this morning issuing a flash flood warning for Craighead, Mississippi, and Poinsett counties in eastern Arkansas after thunderstorms dumped between 2 and 4 inches of rain across the area. Not only that, but it was in quick timing, with additional rainfall up to 2 more inches also falling before it had expired. Now, communities affected, including us right here in Brookland, all the way to Blytheville, Osceola, and Truman, Mark Tree, Harrisburg, Bono, also affected in all of this. Flooding hitting small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, underpasses, and other low-lying areas. We put together some video for you as we were working on the show today. Here's a look, and I'll have to turn the audio down for you, at some video from earlier today. This is in Ponca, Arkansas. This is at Buffalo River. You just see the stream of water levels, of course, above usual. As you can see, they're almost drowning the trees. That's a video from Mark Tree, Arkansas, from Greg Cochran off of Facebook. Neighborhood almost completely flooded. Now, in that Facebook post, he blamed it on the city, and it was their job to clean out the culverts that have led to what was a lack of flooding. I should say flooding quicker than maybe it should have been. But there you go. So you see the heavy rain, streets flooded again there in Mark Tree. Now, during the morning commute, a large cluster of heavy thunderstorms had pushed through the region. Now, this warning since expired at about 1:30, so just about 30 minutes before the show. The residents are reminded that roads may still be compromised and to never attempt to drive through flooded areas. That is such a true statement there. You guys, you gotta stay safe. no matter what's going on, where you are. I can tell you, I know that I was hearing about some people calling into their jobs because it was, to put it simple, unsafe to make it back to their job. So again, turn around, don't drown. You'll never stop hearing that one. Stay safe, you guys. Now to some breaking news. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced this morning that he will resign as leader of the Labour Party and as Prime Minister. He paves the way for the United Kingdom's 7th leader in a decade, less than 2 years after leading Labour to one of its largest parliamentary majorities in the 2024 general election. Now, standing outside 10 Downing Street this morning, you see the video there. A visibly emotional Starmer said, quote, "The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace." Take a listen here.
Those questions have been answered. The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete, and I will do everything I can to ensure an orderly handover of power. I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago, better prepared for the challenges ahead, and better able to ensure the Labour Party secures a second term in office.
Now, that announcement followed months of turmoil, including crushing losses in local elections in May, where Labour lost more than 1,000 seats on local councils, widely interpreted as a repudiation of Starmer's leadership, and a growing revolt within its own party, fueled by the rapid rise of the far-right Reform UK party led by Nigel Farage. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if I'm not. Now, Starmer's likely successor will be Andy Burnham, the popular former mayor of Greater Manchester, who just won a decisive special election back on June 18th, so last week, to return to Parliament, with former Health Secretary Wes Streeting endorsing Burnham Monday morning rather than running himself. And Burnham is unopposed. If he is, I should say, he could be in office as early as late July. President Trump has said Starmer would resign days ago, back in a Truth Social post where President Trump said, quote, I'll show it to you here. Quote, Keir Starmer will resign as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He failed badly on two important subjects, immigration and energy. In parentheses, open North Sea oil. I wish him well. President Donald J. Trump. That was back on the yesterday. He announced that yesterday morning. And then today, this morning, we're learning that Keir Starmer will now resign from his position there. So we'll have to see what the future of United Kingdom politics begin to look like here. With him resigning, how does that change, things for the Labour Party? Are they still in power in the Parliament? That is something that we will follow. Alrighty, we're going to begin to sneak in our first break here on Brookland News Live. Time is now 2:20. There's still so much news to get to. You're watching Brookland News Live. We will be right back here in just a few moments with more of those big stories making headlines. Welcome back. Multiple deaths announced today. We're going to get to those right now. The first here, Clive Davis, the legendary music executive, widely regarded as one of the most influential and talented in the history of modern music, has died at the age of 94. Davis passed away today in New York City following complications from a recent respiratory infection. Now, his career in the music business spanned more than 5 decades and divided into 3 remarkable acts. First, he was the president of Columbia Records in the late 1960s, where he signed Janis Joplin, Carlos Santana, and Bruce Springsteen. Then he became a founder of Arista Records, where he discovered and developed Whitney Houston, wow, and finally with J Records, where he launched the career of Alicia Keys. So, I mean, does that tell you anything about this man? Now, he also co-founded another records company, LaFace Records, with L.A. Reid and Babyface, launching TLC and Usher, and partnered with Sean Combs on Bad Boy Records. So Diddy there, with which brought Notorious B.I.G. to global prominence. Davis was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 2000 and earned 5 Grammy Awards across his historic career. He is survived by his 3 sons, daughter, and 8 grandchildren, while 2 great-grandchildren, and his partner, Greg. I mean, he has lived a life, that is for sure, and he is leaving a lot behind as well. 8 grandchildren, several great grandchildren as well. So, I mean, just the legacy that he is going to leave behind is pretty big. Now to some news from Washington. This also a breaking news story. Back to that live look right now at the White House, where we are following also what was announced earlier this morning, the death of Alan Greenspan. He's another legendary people. This man in the U.S. monetary policy. He was an economist who steered economic policy for nearly 2 decades as chairman of the Federal Reserve. He was a long-serving one. He served not only that term, but it was because he served under so many different presidents as well that he was known so well. He died at the age of 100. Now, his wife of 29 years, NBC News correspondent Andrea Mitchell, confirmed that Greenspan passed away this morning at their home from complications of Parkinson's disease. Chairman under 4 presidents, as I was just saying, starting with Ronald Reagan, who nominated him back in 87, and his 18-and-a-half-year tenure is the second longest in history of the central bank. He presided over one of the longest economic expansions in American history. He guided the economy through the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the collapse of the dot-com bubble in 2000, and the turbulent aftermath of the September 11th attacks. He was so widely respected that he was nicknamed, quote, the Maestro. However, his reputation took a serious hit after he left office in 2006, when critics began blaming him for his policies of financial deregulation for helping create the conditions that led to the global financial crisis in 2008. Greenspan himself later acknowledged, quote, I made a mistake in assuming banks could essentially regulate themselves. In one of his final public acts just this past January, Greenspan signed a joint statement with other former Fed and Treasury officials condemning the Trump administration's reported criminal probe of now former Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who just resigned days ago, calling it, quote, unprecedented attempt to use procedural attacks to undermine the Fed's independence. That is a quote there from Greenspan. So again, 2 big deaths today, one from Washington, one from New York City. Both people who leave legendary backstories. Not only that, but they leave a lot to remember. 2 big deaths in the world today. So again, sad, but 194 there. Okay, we now want to turn to this story coming into us from Axios here. We'll take a look. This is another story we are following this hour. The Trump administration now blocking access, making an unprecedented move, blocking foreign governments, companies, and individuals from accessing Anthropic's most advanced artificial intelligence model. The move so sweeping that Anthropic had to cut off access to all of its customers just to comply. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick sent a letter to Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, placing the company's Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models under export controls to any location outside the U.S. and to all foreign persons within the country. It, again, as we just noted, it has been blocked across everyone, including people in the United States, just so they can comply with it. And by a warning that Fable 5 could be jailbroken, meaning someone could bypass its safety guardrails, White House advisor David Sachs said that when CEO Dario Amodei was notified about the security flaw, Anthropic did nothing to fix it. Earlier this week, Trump told Axios he no longer reviews Anthropic as a national security threat, walking back some of the tension, while Anthropic said it is grateful to the administration for their ongoing partnership in working to resolve the dispute. Analysts now are warning the fallout could be far-reaching, with technology research from Gartner noting this was the first time a government has intervened to block access to an AI model that customers were already using, and warning it, quote, probably won't be the last. Now, that came after the release, as I just noted. Not only that, but it was AI policy signed by the president that said, well, before an AI company, an artificial intelligence company, releases a new model, it has to go to the White House first. It has to go to the executive branch so they can review them, and then it would be reviewed. A lot of people have been asking for AI regulation. This just the first piece of it from the Trump administration. So again, a lot of big stories today. We've got multiple big reports as well coming out today, because the Associated Press is now out with a new report as well on the DEA. This story says, well, I'll just let you take a look at the headline here. What a reporter found when uncovering why federal agents allowed a deadly drug to hit the street. A bombshell investigation from the Associated Press reveals that even as it battled the deadliest drug pandemic in American history, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration permitted hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills to flood the streets of New Mexico from 2023 to 2025, watching drug shipments and doing nothing to stop them in order to build bigger cases against drug trafficking organizations. In one documented instance, agents surveilled a transaction at the Albuquerque mobile home park where traffickers delivered 74,000 pills. And, well, the DEA let it happen. DEA whistleblower and Special Agent David Howell found an official complaint back in 2023 over the tactic, telling AP, quote, "We poisoned our community to make cases. Through our own willful blindness, we get to say we don't really know what happened to the drugs, but we 100% got people killed." Several agents compared the tactic to the infamous Operation Fast and Furious gunwalking scandal back in 2011, in which the ATF allowed thousands of weapons to be smuggled into Mexico to trace them to cartel leaders, a decision that ended in disaster and bipartisan outrage. Meanwhile, overdose deaths in the nationwide did fall 14% last year, and Mexico saw a 21% spike. The DEA pushed back in a statement saying, quote, "The investigative decisions at issue were lawful, reasonable under the circumstances, and consistent with department guidance, and that public descriptions suggesting it knowingly permitted fentanyl to reach communities are, quote, false and fundamentally mischaracterize the facts." Okay there, so interesting new reporting, both from the AI story that we brought to you from Axios, and now the AP that says a whistleblower essentially said that they just went ahead and let fentanyl in just so they could have a bigger investigation. Quite an interesting story, and I'm sure once people start reading it, they're going to realize it's probably going to have bipartisan people behind it. So everybody from both sides of the aisle are going to come behind this and say this probably should not be the truth, just to build a bigger case. Another quick break. When we come back, we've got more news on the other side, including, well, some interesting news about Jimmy Kimmel, who's taking over for him as he goes on his 2-month break. It's going to be, you're likely going to laugh if you know any of the drama about late night TV. Plus, new information revealed behind Fauci's handling, who was the CDC director at the time, of the COVID-19 pandemic. When we come back, you're watching Brookland News Live. Stick with us.
Well, I hope you're paying attention this summer, because I will be taking the next 2 months off, this time voluntarily. But we have assembled a potent group of hosts to fill in for me, beginning with Tiffany Haddish, Coleman Domingo, Ike Barinholtz, Anthony Anderson, Jelly Roll, and as a special treat for our commander-in-chief, I asked one of his all-time favorites, Rosie O'Donnell, to be here to keep the hits coming. So, you're welcome. And all I ask in return, Mr. President, is that you don't do anything stupid while I'm gone.
Already there. So again, as I
Well,
said
I
a
hope
few
you're
moments
paying-
ago, if you know anything about late night TV, you would know that this is an interesting thing. Jimmy Kimmel, they're announcing Thursday night that he is taking his annual 2-month summer break, joking that it is by choice. Of course, last year he was suspended for the network for quite some time. And well, in a move clearly designed to get under President Trump's skin, he named Rosie O'Donnell as one of his guest hosts. You heard the quote there. He said, in return, I ask you, Mr. President, is that you don't do anything stupid while I'm gone, unquote. Now, O'Donnell, who had moved to Ireland with her youngest child after Trump won his second term, will host for 1 week beginning on August 17th. Now, alongside other guest hosts that were mentioned there, Tiffany Haddish, Coleman Domingo, Anthony Anderson, and Jelly Roll. O'Donnell and Trump have been feuding for decades, going back to 2006, when she called him a, quote, snake oil salesman, unquote, on The View. And Trump has never let it go, at one point threatening to revoke her U.S. citizenship. Kimmel also made a pointed reference, as I just noted, to his own recent history with ABC, saying that he would be taking a break, quote, this time voluntarily, a nod to the 6 days his show was pulled from air last September there. So something, again, just in a move designed to get under President Trump's skin, and it looks like it's probably going to work. I'm sure we'll hear comments at the end of the summer from President Trump after she takes over. So it's going to be a story that we are going to follow, because I'm interested to see what the president has to say about all of this. Okay, now to another developing story, one of the most explosive final acts by any outgoing official in recent memory here. Tulsi Gabbard, on her very last day as
ISIS,
director
Al-Qaeda, and other
of national
Islamist terrorist
intelligence
groups around the world.
You hear her there testifying. Released hundreds of pages of never-before-seen classifying documents alleging that Dr. Anthony Fauci directed millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars toward dangerous gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, worked behind the scenes with intelligence officials to steer COVID-19 origin assessments away from the lab leak hypothesis, and lied to Congress under oath in 2024. Now, those documents include internal communications, whistleblower allegations, and intelligence assessments, with Gabbard saying in a statement, quote, after years of lies, censorship, and cover-ups, the American people deserve transparency, truth, and accountability. The tactics used to hide the truth are straight from the deep state playbook, unquote. Among key revelations in those documents include intelligence officials who considered Fauci as an outside reviewer of their COVID origin assessment, but rejected him over concerns about a conflict of interest. And in a separate exchange, intelligence analysts debated whether to follow Fauci's recommendations on who to interview for the study. However, it is important to note here that U.S. intelligence agencies have still not reached a definitive conclusion on COVID-19's origins, and Fauci has repeatedly and forcefully denied all allegations, calling it preposterous. Oh my gosh, excuse me. He did not respond to a request for comment on the latest document release. Gabbard has stepped down since then from her post because of a medical emergency. Her husband was recently diagnosed with a rare tumor, and she said she needed to be by his side during his recovery. Now, despite this large scale of documents being released here, over 1,600 pages to be clear. Now, coverage from mainstream outlets have been strikingly muted. The New York Times Post, covered the story prominently, and it exploded across conservative media and social platforms with Elon Musk and his about 240 million followers on X boosting the story widely. But the major television networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and most legacy print outlets were largely silent. Observers note here that corporate media silence may be working against itself, writing that, quote, their convenient silence is self-inflicted obsolescence. It teaches everyone that if you want to know that government actually just did or released, you cannot rely on corporate media to even flag it for you. Their choice not to engage doesn't squash the narrative. It rather proves they're no longer the platforms that serious people go for their first high stakes information, unquote. Critics of mainstream media's approach point out that the same outlets spent years dismissing the lab leak theory. Again, there is no clear origin of COVID-19 just yet, as I noted a few moments ago, but I still believe that it is extremely notable that the mainstream media has yet to cover any of this. Okay, I want to take you back to the I want to take you back to the Iran war for just a second, because there is a new report out and a new simulation from NBC News where you can calculate, since the war began, how much extra than usual has gas cost you since, of course, the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. So I actually have it pulled up here, or I did. One moment. I'll just pull it back up for just a moment. Here we go. I'm going to pull this up for you, and I'm going to show you guys my screen, and we are going to calculate how much it cost for my car. So I've already done this once just to test and make sure that it is going to work. 1 second. I need to get this thing ready. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you now what gas costed me, and here's what I'll actually do. Sorry, I should have been set up before we did this, but it's okay. Let me turn this off, Sorry guys, doing my best here. I'm trying to get set up so I can show this to you guys, but I want it to, of course, still look nice. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is simulation again from NBC News on how much gas prices might have cost you more than usual. I've yet to do any calculations here, so I have not done that just yet. But first, before I do that, I want to talk about where fuel prices stand right now. This is a look at today's national average, $3.99 across the nation, $3.93, so just below $4 was yesterday. It's up again today. $3.54 in Arkansas, $3.33 in Jonesboro. I believe I've seen about $3.05. It's the lowest that I've seen in Jonesboro. I've not seen anything dump under $2 just yet. I will note as we talk about gas prices, and you guys know I've been so invested in covering the gas prices and making sure you guys understand how this is all working and how the Strait of Hormuz has played into gas prices rising so significantly, because this is kind of the one thing that a lot of people are noticing across the board and across the nation here, is how this war is playing in effect into affecting your pocket directly. That is the Strait of Hormuz being closed. But besides the point here, I found a photo in the archives the other day. Basically, I was searching through my SD card for a story that I've actually just released a few days ago about trash going up. I was looking for pictures of a trash can, and found a picture from a gas station. It showed gas at $2.18. It was at Sam's in Jonesboro. So that just shows you how significantly gas prices have risen. Of course, now we're at $3. That's the lowest you're gonna find, really. $3.05 was the lowest that I've seen in the last few days. Okay, now to the gas price simulator. Let's get to it. I'll stop talking for just a second. My car gets around 17.7 gallons, but I'll just put 17 because it doesn't let you point. And I fill up about every 2 weeks. This month was probably, I'm actually going to fill up again later this month. I probably filled up almost 5 times this month, but we'll just go on an average month and say I fill up, I'm going to put 3 because it really just depends. It's 2 to 3 times. I'll do 2 and then we'll do 3 as well. So I'll do 3 first here. And then state or area, I'm just going to put Arkansas. The estimated price that I have spent more than regular is up $236.21. That is the estimated cost since February 28th, added and total. And I'll actually full screen this so you guys can really get up in there and read it. that is how much I have spent more. So 6307 added per month, 1738 added per fill up, which is I believe that might be right. Actually, I have a calculator right here, and I'll do some math real quick on the air. My car usually used to take about 35. At the height of this war, it was 65. So what is that? That's up $30. Sorry guys, I'm on the calculator. Yeah, so it's up about $30. So that is, I mean, 1738 to fill up. I would say it might be even less than that, because now when I fill up, I believe when I filled up from empty the other day, it was 55. So what is that? 55 minus 35. I'm sure you guys already got it. That's $20. So right now, probably Arkansas gas prices change as of June 22nd, 94 cents, excuse me. Before the war, 44.18 for a full tank, 260 per gallon. So I think 44 for my tank was even a little much, but I think that's not like Jonesboro average or whatever gas station I go to average. That's just, this is average numbers. Okay, so let's say I were to fill up. Oh, you can do like 2.5. I didn't know that. Let's go to 4. 334.16 is how much extra you might have spent. And I'll do, say you drive an SUV, I'll do 25 gallons and I'll do 4 fill-ups. Goes up fast, pretty fast here. $490 is the average of how much most people in Arkansas have spent more. So it's just crazy to see how those numbers can play such a role and how much things add up so quickly when gas prices are up. Of course, they're now falling because of this agreement and because there is a belief that the Strait of Hormuz, reports say the Strait of Hormuz has now reopened. It is still limited ships compared to what it was before going through there, but there is ships going through there now. So that is where things stand right now as we take a look at that gas price calculator from NBC News, showing you where gas prices stand. So that is really interesting, and we are going to I'm going to keep my eyes on this tracker and see if anything changes. I might mess with it a little bit through the break as well. We are going to sneak in another break, you guys. When we come back, we've got more of the big stories making headlines. We will talk about a story out of Arkansas about Roblox and Discord. If you follow me on my social medias, you may have already seen it. Plus, we were talking about this earlier, about the drama surrounding the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. And we'll actually take you back to that live feed we were looking at a few moments ago. No longer live, that is just from today at the reflecting pool. The drama continuing there. We will take you there coming up in just a few moments and bring you up to date. Coming up right here on Brooklyn News Live. Stick with us, you guys. And welcome back here on our Brooklyn News Live. We're taking a look at a story you can read in full right now at brooklandnews.com. A story that says and reports on now that Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin announcing a lawsuit against Roblox and Discord, claiming both platforms knowingly engineered a system that made children vulnerable to predators because, as Griffin argues here, that vulnerability drove profits. The complaint describes the two as, quote, a two-stage pipeline, unquote. Roblox is the entry point where predators built trust with children by posing as peers, and Discord as well, the vehicle for escalating exploitation, including demands for explicit images, extortion, and coordination of real-world assaults. Roblox's own reports to federal child protection authorities tell, well, a damning story. Exploitation cases went from 675 in 2019 to over 13,000 by 2023. 20-fold increase that alleged safety investments did nothing to reverse. On the Discord side here, the lawsuit claims default settings also allow unknown adults to send content directly to minors, and that safety features were put in children's hands rather than parents, meaning a child could disable monitoring with a single tap. Griffin is seeking court orders to force changes, financial compensation, and recovery of profits the companies earned from harm to Arkansas residents. And this suit is part of a broader campaign by Griffin, who also has filed separate suits earlier this year against Meta and TikTok under similar series. So, big stories that we are continuing to follow. And now to this developing story in Washington, D.C. You see the video there after a multi-million dollar renovation project, on the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. It's all continuing to escalate this week. At least 5 people have since been arrested for vandalism, and 5 more issued citations, as President Trump vowed on Truth Social that repairs would begin, quote, immediately, and warned those responsible could face, quote, years in jail. Now, the pool has been, well, a mess since the Trump administration completed a more than $16 million renovation at $4 million over budget, painting the bottom in what President called American flag blue. Almost immediately after water was pumped back in, the pool turned fluorescent green, filled with algae, and the blue paint liner began peeling off in the largest chunks. The most headline-grabbing arrest here was that of a 3-time U.S. Olympian David Hearn, a 67-year-old cyclist from Maryland, who says he simply stopped to examine the peeling liner during a 64-mile bike ride. Hearn says he briefly touched a chunk of liner that was already detached from the side of the pool and was then detained by National Guard troops and Park Police for 5 hours before being charged with destruction of government property. Hearn flatly denied the charges, saying, quote, "I can tell you that no, I didn't take anything away. There wasn't any part of that was damaged by my hand." He added that he has been receiving death threats and feels he is being made a political example. Trump has alleged, without providing evidence, that vandals poured corrosive chemicals into the pool and put a 250-foot gash into the liner. The contractor that did the renovation pool confirmed the pool will need to be drained for repairs, but said the work would be covered under project warranty. So, wow, an interesting story there from Washington, D.C. Wow, major controversy, really, from the reflecting pool. Alrighty, it is time for a brand new segment here on Brooklyn News Live. What was and what's next? So it's a story that we're going to be doing towards the end of the show. We're almost at the end of our show here on Brooklyn News Live. This is going to be basically where we take all the headlines, not only from this show, but from this weekend. That's what we're going to be doing today. What was this weekend? And then we're also going to be talking about what's next. So we're still developing this segment just a little bit. It's in kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, beta or alpha stages. So we're still working on it just a little bit. We're going to have more coming in the next coming days. We're going to do it every Monday and Friday. On Monday, it's going to be kind of like, what was this weekend? What's next coming up later this week? And then on Friday, what was this week, earlier this week? What's next? What's coming up maybe this weekend? So we're going to talk about that Here, let's go ahead and pull up the screen. You see it there on your screen. What was and what's next here. We're going to start off with this story. Vice President J.D. Vance in Switzerland amid talks about the Iran war. Take a look. You see the photo of him there in Iran. This was what was breaking over the weekend. Of course, we talked about this earlier in the show where President Trump had made previous remarks that caused Iran to say, well, they closed the Strait of Hormuz. So that was a big story to follow there out of Iran and the ceasefire talks that were occurring there. We want to we're going to finish this segment coming up here in just a few moments. We do have some breaking news coming into us right now. President Donald Trump is speaking from the Oval Office right now, set to sign executive orders. Let's begin listening in.
Been a big leap in the investment the private sector has made in this particular domain. And we're now at the moment where a lot of that research is starting to pay off into commercial applications. And what this executive order will do is turbocharge that. First and foremost, it's going to task the Department of Energy to create a scientifically relevant quantum computer, which is going to help pave the way for even larger computers for the private sector. Secondly, we're going to be focusing on sensors and networking. So agencies like the Department of War, along with the Department of Energy, are going to be doing a wide variety of sensing and networking work. So this is a big step forward, and as one of our two top science technology priorities, we're excited to kick things off today.
Good. Thank you very much. Good job, Michael. Sean, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You continue to be the most forward-leaning president in innovation in American history.
Is that all?
That's necessary. But no, and while you recognize the tremendous potential quantum has...
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish out the show here because we do have some more headlines that we want to get to. As soon as the president begins taking questions, we will listen in. We know right now he is signing executive orders from the Oval Office. We will get back to it. It seems that every day at the end of our show, it seems like something is going on that we've got to turn to. So as soon as he takes questions, we'll stay on the air extra long if we've got to. We're going to bring you back there in just a few moments. Again, President Trump signing executive orders right now from the Oval Office. We were just talking about our brand new segment, what was and what's next. Let's get back to it. We'll start from the beginning just because I know we had to kind of interrupt in the middle of all of it. I apologize about that. But let's get to it. So let's talk first what was this weekend. Vice President J.D. Vance, again in Switzerland. We'll begin talking about this just a little bit. The photo of him showing him shaking hands there. We know that progress has been made according to Vice President J.D. Vance. The interesting part that we're all going to have to watch for here is how Lebanon and Israel play into this. Again, Tehran at this point in time saying that, well, if the conflict in Lebanon does not stop with the militant Hezbollah, then, well, the U.S. and Iran can't come to an agreement at all. So that's going to be a piece of this story to watch here. Okay, also this weekend, two of the shows that I was watching, Off Campus and Love Island. I'm a little behind on Love Island here, so I've been trying to catch up. Going to catch up a little later tonight as well as Off Campus. Two very great shows. I know we're short on time here. Let's go over right now to what is next. The Supreme Court set to make major decisions coming up this Thursday. We're going to be following that. It will bring you updates on that as soon as they come, including one major ruling on birthright citizenship and whether the president his executive order to say, well, people already in the country that are illegal aliens, I should say illegal immigrants, are even U.S. citizens. So we will have more on that this Thursday. We know that it is coming. The end of this month is going to be the last of the Supreme Court term. So that is going to be a story to watch and that we will watch. Again, we do want to take you to, again, the breaking news story that we're following right now. President Trump speaking from the Oval Office. We're going to go ahead and listen back in here as we kind of finish out the hour as we're waiting for him to take questions here. He is signing executive order. Appears Energy Secretary Chris Wright is speaking right now there in the background. Again, as we wait for them to take questions, I apologize. I sounded like we were going to go to it for the rest of the hour. But as we, again, wait for him to take questions, we're going to kind of monitor this feed coming from the White House right now. Alrighty, we do want to turn to this developing story also from Washington, D.C., where we are now learning that Fox Corporation has announced that it will be acquiring Roku. It's America's top streaming platform. This is in a blockbuster $22 billion deal that would pair Fox's live sports, news, and entertainment empire with Roku's massive reach into more than 100 million streaming households worldwide, including more than half of all U.S. broadband households. Now, Fox Corp Executive Chair and CEO Lachlan Murdoch called it, quote, a defining moment for Fox, saying the deal is a, quote, natural extension of the deliberate and focused strategy we have been executing for nearly a decade, unquote. Under the terms of the deal, Fox will pay $96 in cash and roughly 1 share of Fox stock for every share of Roku, a price of $160 per share that represents a 34% premium over Roku's stock price before the deal was announced. Now, the combined company would unite Fox News, Fox Sports, Tubi, and the NFL and MLB broadcast rights with Roku's leading streaming platform and the Roku channel. Now, this big deal does not happen in isolation. It's really part of what is a wave, a sweeping wave, you could say, of media consolidation that is rapidly shrinking the number of companies controlling what you, the Americans, watch. Just 4 days before the Fox Roku announcement, the Department of Justice cleared Paramount and Skydance's $110 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery, a deal that would combine Paramount Plus with HBO Max. Disney just last year completing its full takeover of Hulu, folding it into Disney Plus. Experts already raising concerns about this level of consolidation that could depress pay for industry workers and raise costs for everyday American consumers as fewer and fewer companies control more and more of what is on your screens. Analysts here say the Fox Roku deal signals a new phase in media mergers, one that is no longer about owning, well, more shows, but rather about owning your screen, the screen the viewers see before the show even starts. Streaming now accounts for 48% of all U.S. television viewing, up just 25% from 2020. And the companies that control those platforms now have access to the viewing of your data. The data of millions of American households, tracking what people watch across every input, whether that's your cable box, your game console, your antenna, that's even included here. Put simply, a handful of corporations are quietly moving to control not just what you watch, but how you find it, how you watch it, how you pay for it, and what data they collect while you do. And right now in Arkansas, the pioneer woman and Oklahoma rancher Drummond, making her visit to Northwest Arkansas for the Bentonville Film Festival, an icon really across Arkansas. I think you could say she's better known to millions as the pioneer woman. She visited Northwest Arkansas last week as part of the 12th annual Bentonville Film Festival, kicking off the week-long event with a 90-minute coffee talk at the Roadhouse at the Monumentary in Bentonville on Tuesday, June 16th. Back early last week, Drummond reflected on creating connection through storytelling, entrepreneurship, and authenticity, and joined a star-studded lineup that also included celebrity chef Bobby Flay. The visit had special significance for Arkansans, as Drummond has deep ties to this region, having long partnered with Walmart on her Pioneer Woman collection of cookware, and home products, which she relaunched back in 2025 to celebrate 10 years of that collaboration. Her youngest daughter, Paige, also graduated from the University of Arkansas back in 2022. Drummond rose to fame through her popular blog about life on a cattle ranch in Oklahoma, which grew into a multimedia empire, including cookbooks and all of that. Really quite an icon for Arkansans. Okay, we want to get you out right now to the R.Dot camera in Brooklyn. As it appears, the rain is beginning once again. You see the rain now covering the camera. A flash flood warning expiring earlier this morning. We brought you that, the news about a flash flood warning, and we can actually show you some of the video from earlier today. Take a look at this. It shows just the flooding. This is the Buffalo River in Ponca, Arkansas. You see there levels high. You can even barely see the top of some of those trees. Then the video goes to flooding in a literal neighborhood. This is at a marked tree from Greg Cochran. You see the video there showing roads flooded. Again, we noted a few moments ago in his Facebook post, he blamed the flooding on the city, saying they should have done a better job at cleaning the culverts there. Let's get you out to your forecast though, because that's really what matters here. What are things going to look like these next few days? Tonight, showers are going to continue. By Tuesday, cloudy skies, high of 81, low of 69. Then by Wednesday, high of 83, a low of 69. Not too much, still a little warm outside, but the rain showers and the chance of rain showers are going to continue. So again, lots to watch out for here, and we will be monitoring it all. Okay, that is the look at your forecast right now. We want to get you back out to the White House, where again we are standing by because we do expect here at any moment President Trump to begin taking questions from the White House on all of this. Right now he's signing executive orders. He just signed one on investing in quantum computing. We're going to listen back in here for just a few more moments.
For the people, because right now the people are very hungry, and they're buying it exclusively from us. Corn, soybeans. It should be a lot of money. I hope it's a lot of money.
If the war with Iran could cause a worldwide depression, as you noted, Mr. President, are you willing to risk economic catastrophe and strike Iran again?
Well, not the way I'm doing it. It's not going to cause depression.
Yes, but if they don't abide by the memorandum of understanding.
Nuclear weapon supersedes depression. Depression is real bad. Nuclear weapon will cause depression much more quickly. The way we're doing it, we have the opposite of a depression. We're doing really well. The numbers are incredible. The oil is at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Oil prices are way down. I think they're very comparable to what they were, Chris. I don't know, pretty comparable to what they were before we started.
They've returned most of the way back down.
Yeah.
So if Iran does not abide by the MOU, are you still willing for strikes?
And does it cause a depression? I said it could cause a depression, right? And I said that I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. That's a president I don't want to be, because he was in charge during the Great Depression, and certainly a lot of bad things could happen. That would be one of the things. I don't think it would, but if it did, but no, if Iran doesn't live up to their agreement, or if they're not behaving, I will do what I have to do.
Does that give them leverage over you, Mr. President?
Say it?
Does that give them leverage, the Iranians leverage over you?
Oh, you're so leverage. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their leaders are all dead. Their whole country's a mess. Their economy is shot. The Times, the fake New York Times said, oh, it's about the same as it was 4 months ago. No, 4 months ago they had a Navy, 159 ships to be exact. It's gone. The whole Navy's gone. Their 250 airplanes, all gone. Their anti-aircraft is gone. Their radar is gone. These guys love radar. Their radar is gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. Their whole country is gone. And the Times said, oh, they're about the same as they were 4 months ago. The reason the news is doing so badly, or let's put it another way, the reason that I won in a landslide, even though I got 92% negative press, all fake press, is because nobody believes the press anymore. And they have to start believing. When the Times and a couple of others, they're grasping for straws. When they say that Iran is about the same as it was 4 months. 4 months ago, they had a powerful Navy, they had a powerful Air Force. Most of their missiles are gone. Most of their launching pads are gone. Most of their manufacturing capacity for drones and missiles is gone. About 87% gone. And then I hear, oh, they're in such great shape. No, they're gone. And their first level of leaders, gone. Their second level of leaders gone. Their third level of leaders, you have to hear the conversations. Who wants to be president? Well, I don't want it. Nobody wants to be president. And then we have to read that they're doing well. They're doing so badly. In the meantime, we're setting records. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. We have 18 to 19 trillion dollars being poured into our country. We're building factories all over the place. We have more people working today than at any time in the history of our country at higher salaries. So when you ask a question like that, it's so stupid. Here's another beauty. Watch this one.
Well,
Here's a real beauty.
earlier today, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point in these conversations. He said it publicly in Israel today.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't
Well, I'm not going
sabotage
to
the
tell you
deal?
what I'm going to do, but it gets solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problems solved real fast, including with Bibi. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. What's the latest you've heard from the Vice President? Are you happy with his negotiations?
Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about what Secretary Rubio will be doing in the Middle East this week?
I think that they're doing a fantastic job. Our secretary is fantastic. I think he's maybe going to go down as the best ever. And I thought J.D. Vance this morning was fantastic. I watched his news conference, and from Switzerland, he's a very smart guy. Did a great job. You know, when I look at the Democrats, I call them the Democrats. They're dumb. The Democrats. When I watched that, where one of them thought it was World War XI. She said World War XI. She meant World War II. You know about that, right? This is one of their potential leaders, Ilhan Omar, who married her brother to get into the country, by the way, illegally. But when I watch AOC have no idea, what a simple question, what happened when she was over in Switzerland, which she probably never went there before, but she was, and then I watch somebody like JD or Marco. I said, what a difference. What a difference. What a difference a brain makes.
Mr. President, the candidate that you endorsed in Colombia for this.
Sir, you've been quite critical of Prime Minister Starmer, and he's now resigned. Your thoughts, and who would you like to see as the next Prime Minister of the UK?
I was critical only from the side, because I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North Sea oil, and they won't let anybody drill. It's one of the great fields in the world, and they haven't even found most. You know that the UK buys much of its energy. You know where? Norway. You know where they get their oil? The North Sea. The UK has a much better portion of the North Sea. They don't want to do it for environmental purposes, okay? And I told him, he's a very nice man. I mean, sort of a friend of mine. I mean, he was not good to us with NATO, Pete, right? He said, we can't use the island to land. That was the first. For a couple of weeks, he said, well, but ultimately I gave it to you now. That was a bad move. That hurt him badly. But I mean, I wish him well, but he's got two problems: energy and immigration, and crime. But energy and immigration.
Do you have a preference on the next one?
And he's really hurt himself very, very badly. Please go.
Mr. President, can you tell us about your meeting with the defense contractors on Wednesday and what you plan to tell them?
The meeting coming up, because I've met with them before. We're building plants all over the country. They are not allowed to take any more stock buybacks. Do you do stock buybacks by any chance? Not too much, right? No, because he wants to invest in product. It's just an artificial way of raising a price if you're running a bad company. So they spent $51 billion on stock buybacks instead of spending them on plants. Now they can't do that anymore. Now they are spending a lot of money. We're building many plants throughout the country. They're dealing with General Motors. They're dealing with Ford. But I know General Motors is all excited about building weapons now. They have some plants which are going to switch over, and we're going to build weapons, including the Patriot, including the Tomahawk, and lots of other things. And we're really in a big, strong economic push to do the weapons. And some of the car companies, if they have any excess capacity, they're making a deal to build missiles and the Patriot in particular. We have quite a few of them, but we want to make sure we have always a lot of them.
Mr. President of Colombia, the candidate that you endorse.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations on the quantum physics EO to all of you. Vice President Vance said that there are mechanisms in place to make sure that there's not escalations with the Strait of Hormuz and with Israel and Lebanon. Can you talk about what those mechanisms are, and are you in direct talks with the Supreme Leader, Moshe Mohammadi?
Look, here's the thing. as long as they respect us. I don't want to use the word fear, because that's an inappropriate word. But as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. We have total control of the strait.
So the mechanism is
You know, we have a Navy that had a blockade. I think the blockade was more impactful than dropping bombs, if you want to know the truth. It was like I said, they call it the steel wall. Nobody got through. Not one ship got through, able to go to Iran. They got through if we wanted them to go through. And we could set that up again in about 15 minutes. I would say, Pete, one phone call. How long would it take? Maybe half hour?
They're ready to go right now if you need to. Yes, sir.
It'll be before we finish the meeting. No, we have, as long as they respect us, we're going to be fine. If they don't respect us, things wouldn't be good, but they have a lot of respect. Don't forget, we had presidents that should have done this for 47 years. Nobody did it. Obama gave them a road to a nuclear weapon. I gave them a wall against a nuclear. They can never, under this agreement, they'll never even think about building a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, on Colombia, the candidate...
El Tigre.
Yeah, Abelardo de la Espriella. We know that you had a phone...
I endorsed him. He was in 10th place. I endorsed him, and he won the election.
Yeah, we know that you had a
no
phone...
different than this country.
You had a phone conversation with Abelardo de la Espriella in the last hours. What can you tell us about that phone conversation, and what do you see, what do you anticipate?
You're from Colombia?
Yes, sir, I'm from Colombia.
So he
Cartagena, great city.
He called me last night, and he thanked me for the endorsement. He won. He won the election. He wasn't anticipated to win, but he won, and he won handily. It's just an honor. He was just a good man. I'd watch him a little bit speak, and he always speak. You know, when people like me, I like them. It's very simple. It's a very simple formula, and I like him. He said really nice things about me and the job we've done in the United States, and very, very powerful. And he won an election in Colombia that, I don't know, some people were surprised because he was a little bit further down the pack, but he won easily last night. He won by, he called me at 8:30 in the evening just to thank me very much. And I said, you ran a great campaign. He said, El Tigre, right?
Yeah. And what do you anticipate for the relation with Colombia? Colombia is such an
much better. It'll be better. He's going to be a great president.
Mr. President. Are the contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it the vandals that you mentioned?
Vandals. You know, we have I think 290, 300-foot slit right through it, probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind. We had people lifting up the basic, some of the, it's not a lot of damage, but we'll probably have to let the water out and refix it. They went in there with a knife. I was just told by the people over at Parks, they have 5 people are arrested and 5 people are under investigation right now. And it's a sad thing. In addition to that, we put brand new beautiful grass all around. They put these massive letters on the grass. You probably know about that, right? And they said 8647. They probably got that from the dirty cop. Told me, you know he's a dirty cop, don't you? Dirty cop. He's a crooked guy. They destroyed the grass. So that's a big thing. But we're going to get it back very soon.
National Guard and police have been all over the mall. How would these vandals have gotten so close to do something like that?
Do you have any proof of this?
I mean, we didn't have a lot of them then. Who would think that somebody would go into a pool and take a knife and start cutting it?
But do you have proof of that? That they used the knife? Do you have photos or videos?
Well, let's put it this way. When you have a 350, I think it's 350, not 250, a 350-foot slit from one end to the other, you think that's proof? You think that's proof?
Reporters have been down there today looking for that slit that you mentioned, and there's no evidence of it.
All you'd have to do is see the Parks Department. They'll show it to you. See the secretary. But I saw it. They cut it. They cut it very violently. The same thing with the floor. They cut it. And then they lifted it. They pulled it. And that's what it is. And, we've done over 50 monuments. Number one, we start with, this is now a safe city. It's as safe a city as you're going to get in the country. And when I came here, it was a very dangerous city. And number two, what we did is the beautification with the parks and the grass and everything, removal of all the tents. And this is like a different place. One of the things we did is over 50 fountains and statues, most of which were in horrible shape. All of them were bad, but some were just absolutely horrible. Graffiti, you couldn't even see the stone. They've all been fixed. We also fixed the reflecting pool. In fact, if you go over there right now, it looks very good. It's up. Somebody said fertilizer in the water. If you put fertilizer in the water, you get algae. But somebody said they might have put fertilizer. They did something to create the algae, but that doesn't matter because that's been purified. It's dead. Laying at the bottom, they're taking it out. They vacuum it out. They vacuum it very carefully out. And it'll be back to health pretty soon. We're going to have to let the water out to fix there's 2 little areas, very little areas where they were cut. And we'll fix that, but it's not leaking or anything. It's got a base underneath.
Part of what's curious about this situation is we stood here with you in April when you first revealed the plans.
I said what?
In April, you showed us pictures of what you were going to do at the pool, and you said you had a guy who was going to do it in a week for about $1 million.
Well,
it's been 2 months and $16.5 million.
Yeah, okay, ready? Barack Hussein Obama, have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
He spent 2 years and over $100 million on trying to fix it. You know what happened to it? Never even opened.
Right.
He took the water from the river. You know about that, right? It turned out to be putrid, and it destroyed the whole thing. Spent over $100 million. Him and Biden together spent $147 million. You know what happened? Never opened. You don't mention that, right?
But
we spent about 10. Much of the money we spent are park workers. They're there whether they do this or not, as you know. They work in the park, and they're very good workers. They did a great job. So they were going to spend $300 to $400 million. You know that, and it was going to take 4 years. I spent about 6-7 weeks, and I spent probably in terms of outside, probably $10 million, around 10 million. They say 16, but a lot of that's workers that work for the same thing. So they were going to spend $400 million. I spent 10. They were going to spend 4 years. I spent 2 months, maybe less. And I have a better product. Now, I can't help it if somebody goes in with a knife and starts hacking it up. And we also have pictures of it.
Can you release the photos? We've been asking for that.
You'll see it. You'll see it in court. You'll see it in court. But all you have to do is call the Parks Department. Call the Department of Interior, and I don't know if their lawyers will allow you to speak to them because you write fake news. But call the Interior Department, and I understand they've arrested 5 people, and they have another 5 people that are under investigation. Here's the bottom line: we made so much progress in this city. People don't even recognize it. By the way, Memphis, Tennessee, crime is down 78% in a matter of months. It was a hellhole. New Orleans, crime is down 79%. And they had Mardi Gras. It was the safest Mardi Gras they've had in 50 years. The governor called me. Governor Landry called me. Safest Mardi Gras they've had in... And by the way, Chicago, which is a shooting field right now, if the governor would call me, Governor Pritzker would call me, I would solve the Chicago problem. In 3-4 months, you'd have virtually a crime-free city. We'll remove all of the bad ones. You have criminals. You have career criminals that came in through the border because of Sleepy Joe Biden. You ever hear of Sleepy Joe Biden? Do you ever hear of him? He let people come into this country, and we can never forget that that happened. Guys like you should never forget that that happened. They were murderers, drug dealers, mental patients. They took them out of prisons. They took them out of mental institutions. You should never forget that that happened.
Mr. President, you're
Let's
meeting.
leave on a nicer note.
You're meeting with NATO's Mark Rutte on Wednesday.
Good.
You've had Secretary Hegseth review U.S. presence
I
in
did.
NATO countries.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that conversation. Are you planning
Well,
on
look,
drawing down U.S.
NATO.
troops?
It's NATO, basically, the question. So we have been a great member of NATO, in many ways, certainly the predominant member. We paid trillions of dollars over the years, not billions, trillions over the years to protect Europe. When we wanted to know, we didn't need any help at all. I was more curious than anything else. So I said to Pete, let's see if they'd actually come. So we asked them to come, and they weren't there for us. So we spent, it was stupid that they weren't. By the way, Starmer wasn't there. And you know what? The people of the UK did not like it that he wasn't there. Starmer said no. Starmer said worse than no. He said, we'll be there as soon as you win. I said, we don't need you as soon as we win. Before I went in, we called him. He said, oh, wow, we'll be there. This was not Winston Churchill we're dealing with, that I can tell you. But Starmer said, we'll be there, right, Pete? As soon as we win. As soon as we win, they're going to come and help us. Okay, thanks. But you know what? Italy was very bad. Italy was very bad, and other countries, Germany was very bad. So we spent all of this money, probably 600, I think we spent 600 billion a year, right? Well, I would say that. I think the real number, think of that, the numbers that we spend are so crazy, or NATO, and they weren't there for us. So I say to Pete, and I say to everybody else, if we're spending all of this money, just hundreds of millions of dollars to protect them from Russia, mostly. Okay, so we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year. You know, the case could be made that we spent all of the money over the years before me. I cut it back. But listen, we spend all of this money, and then when we want to maybe have help on small stuff, this is small time. This is not the big one. This is small potatoes. They say no, would rather not help. Stupid thing to say, because we can say that to them if we want, and we might.
Mr. President, it's the 1-year anniversary of Operation Midnight Hammer. If you could go back in time, is there anything you would do differently?
No.
Nothing at all?
It's the most successful attack that anyone's ever seen with a bomber that totally wiped out their nuclear potential. If we didn't do that, you'd have no Israel right now. Israel would not exist, and most of the Middle East would not exist. They were 2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. If we wouldn't have done that, Pete, they would have had a nuclear weapon. You want to say something about that?
Yes, sir. I wasn't aware it was 1 year, but you don't have the situation we have now, a position of strength where Iran's going to give up their nuclear program without Midnight Hammer, which no other country on planet Earth could remotely conceivably pull off that from start to finish, 37 hours back and forth. Iran never saw it, and every munition, precision munition that only we make, hit exactly where we wanted it to, because
they knew we were coming, and they could do nothing.
And they could do nothing about it with their air defenses, which are even further now degraded. And that's what everyone misses in the press, and the president's right to call it fake news, because the overwhelming military victory that has been had over Iran is what has set the conditions for them to be at the table with our negotiators. And we will ensure, whether it's through a deal or through the War Department, that they never get a nuclear weapon because of this president right here.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, you have been listening in there to President Donald Trump. Sorry, I'm unclear why I got so loud right there for just a moment, but President Trump taking questions at the White House for quite some time here, and what is been a busy last bit of this start of the second hour. As most of you know, we only do 1 hour Brookland News Live. If we got big stories though, we gotta go to them. We will take you to those as soon as they happen there. President Trump signing that executive order.
Oh look, I'm on camera. I didn't know. Biden can't do that. He used an auto pen. I say no thanks. It's postponed for photographers. Okay.
So I believe they've kicked the press out, but the White House camera is still there. So we're still watching the president sign those executive orders still at the White House right now. Okay, we do have another story we want to take you to right now that is literally happening right now at this moment. Excuse me here, I'm going to take you to it. We literally just got this fixed. This is breaking news coming into us right now. There is a crash, a multi-vehicle crash on I-555. This is, you can see a 1 lane of traffic, 2 lanes blocked as you're heading farther into Jonesboro. This looks to be right at exit 42. I can see Jonesboro Police, Jonesboro Fire is on scene. I also see an ambulance. So we got 1 lane opened if you're going towards Memphis. So out of Jonesboro, if you're going out of town, we've got 1 lane blocked going into town. It appears both lanes have been blocked. That RDOT camera just now zooming in. Again, this is a crash happening right now. We don't have much information from authorities coming in, but we do know that this is a serious multi-vehicle crash as discussed. This was in the call to dispatchers. This was between mile markers 100 and 149. Reports here from dispatch and people indicate that one of the driver may have had a stroke. Another person is 13 weeks pregnant and has a head injury. Again, this is all unconfirmed. This is according to callers who called dispatch, called 911, and are reporting this. So again, you are watching live is what a crash. You can see, and I will kind of push in here further than what this camera is pushed in for us. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here, because if you look very closely on the right side of your screen, I'll push in just a little bit there. You see a budget truck, and then another truck is off on the side of the road. Unclear if they were involved in this collision in any way, because it does appear as if we have some other vehicles and some 18-wheelers as well in the front of those ambulances and police cars. So again, this is happening right now, a crash on I-555 right there at exit 42 as you are coming into Jonesboro. So we are monitoring it, and if there is an update, we will bring that to you. So what has started out to be a slower day of headlines to bring you, and we were big story on Iran, and then now as we get into the second hour, President Donald Trump making an unscheduled appearance in front of the press, then taking questions for quite some time, and then we're also following this, again, breaking story, a crash right now on I-555 right at exit 42. We are monitoring it, and we'll bring you updates when we get them. Again, this is live right now. We'll zoom back out for you. You see the fire department, Jonesboro Police also on scene of all of this. We will continue monitoring it, but that is going to do it for us. We're going to stick on this feed here as we wrap up our show. Again, a crash on I-555. I'm Jackson Mitchell. For now, saying so long to all of you. Please stay safe. Avoid that area. If you know where this is in Jonesboro, avoid it, please. You're just going to get stuck in more traffic and possibly make first responders' job even harder. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, you guys. We will see you right back here tomorrow. We will be back at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Take note of that, 1 p.m. We're back here an hour early tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, you guys.